Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Good morning. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome in and happy Friday. Good morning and happy Friday. All right, this is a really raw session. I have not looked at anything this morning, so we are going to build out the watch list together. I don't think it's going to be that difficult if things stayed where they closed yesterday. We've got a lot of stocks right now trading at the all-time highs. We've got a lot of stocks with momentum right now. We've got a lot of stocks that we're just looking for continuations on. So this may not be a super intense session, but we're here for it anyways, right? So let's start with SPY, and we're on the 5-minute time frame, by the way, for everything. So daily time frame for SPY, what do we know to be true? Well, SPY's been range trading, hasn't it? Right, this is our daily time frame. Been range trading with resistance roughly around 628, 629, support roughly around 620. This is your block of price action. This is your range for SPY. So what we would be looking for is either a break down from this range or a break out of this range. So back to the 5-minute time frame. Here's our block of price action. We've got a slight gap up this morning as of right now. Pre-market highs around 630, so we are above that static line of resistance that we drew on the daily, which is right here. So we can't say let's go long above 628 because SPY's already trading above 628. So the safest thing to do here, we're going to look to just take it long above the pre-market highs. That would give us a break of this downtrend trend line here. Right? So we would not be getting these lower highs anymore. We would start to get higher highs, and we'd have a break of your pre-market high here, and we would have new all-time highs all occurring right here. So that is why we go long on SPY at $630 today. We're going to add that to the watch list. By the way, this is an open session. I have made this session public. Normally, these sessions are not public. So make sure that if you are here and you're not a member of the Discord server, enjoy. Take some notes. All right, SPY. So short level, where do we go short on this at? Well, if we know that this has been uptrending, right, and then this is your recent break of that uptrend, but it's been uptrending. On an uptrend, it makes a series of what? Higher low, higher low, higher low. Well, it's a gap up, so you would normally look to take it short under the previous day's closing price. The problem with that is I don't think that we're giving enough room between the long level and the short level for SPY to work. So we don't want to be faked out here. So I think the smartest thing to do is just to pull this line down to the most recent area of a dip, right? The most recent area of reaction. And this is really all that we have to go off of, because this is your all-time highs. So where this resistance then flips to support makes the most sense for us to go short. I did not mean to rhyme that, but call me Dr. Seuss. Short idea on SPY below 626.5. 626.5. All right, and then now we focus on the focus list, and this comes out every afternoon after market close. I rarely miss a day. Sometimes I have missed a day of posting this before, but yeah, it comes out every afternoon, and the whole point of that is for you to go chart these out, because these are the stocks that we have deemed as high probability setups, and I need you to go chart these out in the afternoon so that you understand why these are high probability setups, what type of setup is being presented, where your nearest support and resistance points are, what your potential profit margin is, and you can create a rough trading plan around the focus list. Most of the time, the stock watch list, the day trade watch list, is built off of this focus list. So number one is Google. Let's see, is it still in play? Yes, it is. So what type of setup do we have on Google? It is a 4-day consolidation following the break of a bull flag pattern, the breakout rather, of a bull flag pattern on the daily. So Google broke out of the bull flag, has been consolidating, and we can see the resistance pretty clear in this area. 184 to 185 area supports roughly around 180. So back to the 5-minute time frame, is this trading at or near that resistance? Well, it's above it, isn't it? So since we're looking for the break of the resistance, but we've already gotten the break of the resistance in the pre-market, from here all we're gonna do is go long above your pre-market high. So 185.5, and the trade plan will be a break of the resistance on the daily following the breakout of the bull flag on the daily. So it's a long above 185.5. And notice I'm not going long at pre-market high is 185.2. Notice I'm not putting 185.20. Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Well, if I put 185.20, what you'll tend to do is think of this line as an exact level, meaning if we get a break of that level, you might be looking for an exact retest. Or if we get a rejection of that level, rather, right? Maybe this opens up and sells, then you're going to be looking for an exact retest of that very specific line. This is trading. It's not always perfect. So we don't need to think of the things so exact. We really need to think of this as a zone or area of resistance. So that's why it's okay to round that level. Plus, 30 cents rounding up is not going to make a big difference for a stock priced at $185. You see what I'm saying? Okay, now where do we place the short level? Well, understanding old resistance here, roughly around 184, can become new support. Ideally, Google should hold above 184. However, it doesn't make sense to go short at 184 because you've got the previous day's close. That's that green line just below. So if you were to go short at 184, you're limited on profit margin here down to the next point of support. And what you might see is you go short right here, this finds support right here, and then this bounces and reverses. And you don't want to be caught up in that situation. So the better thing to do is just to be more conservative. This really isn't a bearish setup anyways, is it? So let's be more conservative. Let's move that short level down under the support point at the previous day's close to 183. Not that I think we're going to take this short today, but why not place it on the chart? It's just good practice. And for our comments here, we're going to say watching for a continuation following the morning gap up over the resistance on the daily after breaking the bull flag pattern, or we can say breaking out of the bull flag pattern. And so I make it very clear to you, if you don't understand why this stock is high probability, read the comments. Watching for a continuation following the morning gap up over the resistance on the daily after breaking out of the bull flag pattern. That's everything we just talked about, my friends. Okay, next on our focus list is going to be NVIDIA. So we know NVIDIA is trading where? All-time highs, right? NVIDIA is trading all-time highs. So it's very simple. The analysis that we're looking for, or that we're doing, we're just looking for new all-time highs. Very, very easy. So 5-minute time frame. What's our all-time high? What's going to be yesterday's high of day at 174? Looks like 174.17. So there is a couple of ways that you could probably approach this. Number one, you can go fairly aggressive and just say long above 174 under the expectation that it's just going to break above the pre-market resistance and your previous all-time high, which is 174.2. So rather than rounding up in this instance, you're rounding down and you're kind of banking on this breaking and going. I like this on NVIDIA for a couple of reasons. Normally I'd be more conservative, but NVIDIA has a positive reaction to a news catalyst that it's been reacting to, which is the reopening of being able to sell their products to China, or their certain products to China. So it's positive reaction to a news catalyst, first and foremost. Second of all, this has got a lot of momentum behind it. It's been running, so the momentum is there. Third, it's at the all-time highs. So it does warrant us being aggressive and taking that risk that, okay, let's go long at 174. It might hit 174.2 and reject, and that would kind of suck, but we need to be prepared for that to just cut the trade right away if that's the scenario that we're given. Otherwise, we might see something where this just blows right through 174, rallies up, and then pulls back. And we can kind of take that entry off of the retest of this resistance area, right? Thinking of this as an area. Maybe we don't get the full retest of 174, but rather we get a retest of your pre-market highs. Then we can go long there for the rally up with a stop just under 174. So there's a couple of ways we can run this. If NVIDIA were to push any higher, though, from where it's currently at, if it were to push any higher and opens closer to 174, I don't want to be faked on that, so I would likely move that level up 50 cents, 174.5. But as of right now, with it being, not right on 174, I think that it's okay to consider being aggressive on NVIDIA today, given all of the things behind it, right? Given the whole reasoning why it's on the watch list in the first place. So we'll say NVIDIA long above 174. And the analysis here, just looking for new all-time highs. We don't need to make it crazy, overcomplicated, or complex. This is it. Just looking for new all-time highs. Simpler the better, right? Short level. This isn't really a short setup. It's trading with this uptrend trend line. The only way I would probably go short on this is if it started to make a lower low, so maybe something under like 171. Do I think that it's going to get all the way to 171 for us to take a short entry today? Probably not. It could happen, but it doesn't feel likely to happen. We could go short at the PDC at 173, given that this is a gap up, but then you kind of run the risk of, well, where's your support below, right? There's a bunch of different, it's not super clear. It's not like a range. So there's a bunch of different supports below, and I would even argue that 172 is support as well. So you have support at 173, being the previous day's close. You've got support at 172, this being prior resistance. Then you got support at 171, this being the prior day's low of day. So there's support, support, support just below where we would go short, so we don't add it on the watch list at all. Just a long level, right? Just because you can put a short level or a long level on the watch list doesn't mean you always have to. Remind yourself of the setup. It's NVIDIA, bullish at all-time highs with a positive reaction to a news catalyst. We're not really going short on this, are we? How we feeling today, by the way? Type it up in the chat there. How we feeling? Is everybody feeling good? We've had a slow start to the week, very slow start, but the past couple of trading days has been great. Things have really picked up. We've gotten very nice moves with very solid follow-through. I've been impressed. Okay, number 3 on our focus list is Microsoft. So you're going to start to see a pattern with some of these names. What are we looking for on Microsoft? Well, remind ourselves of the setup on the daily. It's just been a runner. Holy cow. Can you imagine? Look at this. We've been on this since the gap up from earnings, and it's been running and running and running and running and running and running. And another sleeper is Roblox. Man, what a freaking move on Roblox. This is wild. I remember when this stock was trading at $50, and it's ran from 50, 100% to 100, and then another 20% to 120. I mean, this stock is unstoppable. We tried to day trade it. It's kind of hard to time those big days. But wow, what a move on Roblox lately. So back to Microsoft. What do we got? Well, the stock's trading at all-time highs, right? All-time high mover. Very simple analysis. What are we looking for? New all-time highs. So we're looking for the break of the prior day's resistance, which conveniently is also your pre-market high, 513.5. So you can either round this up to 514 if you kind of want to make it easy on yourself. If you want to be aggressive right at the all-time high, 513.5 also works. I like being aggressive on this because the move yesterday was very nice, and again, it's got a positive reaction to being at the all-time highs, get a lot of momentum here, so it makes sense, and it's pulled back off of that price point, so it makes sense to be aggressive. So 513.5 is your level, and we can say just looking for new all-time highs. Easy, right? Just looking for new all-time highs. Big King Thomas, welcome in. Big Ron says he's doing good. By the way, congrats on what? On the marriage? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Orpheus said it's been challenging the past week, I'm assuming, to say the least, but I'm moving forward. Okay. Good deal, good deal. Egg says, what about BABA? I don't like trading BABA, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's a China name that's also traded on the Chinese exchange. So it tends to have crazy gap ups and gap downs. But then when it gaps up, a lot of times it doesn't give us any follow through. But yeah, I mean, it's moving right now. You would just be looking for the continuation run from the following from the following gap up. You got a couple of things going here. Positive reaction to a news catalyst, break of the downtrend trend line, the gap up this morning. So yeah, BABA you can certainly look for a continuation on it. But like, just look at this chart. Look at the gap down, gap up, gap down, gap. So it's not one that, and it's a China name, so it's really subjected to news right now. Anything can come out at any time, under this current administration. On Twitter, for example, maybe a new tariff is introduced and this stock will just plummet. So it's like, yeah, does it offer us something that's semi-high probability? Sure. But are there better names to trade that are safer? Yes. So I don't like BABA, respectfully, to trade because I feel like we can probably put money in NVIDIA or Microsoft or PLTR, all three of which offer a better setup than BABA. So if I've got a better setup over here that's a little safer over here, why would I even entertain something over there? You see what I'm saying? So nothing here for me. Okay, next on our focus list, by the way, speaking of, is PLTR. PLTR. So what do we got? It is another all-time high. Imagine that. Is it still in play? Moving to the 5-minute time frame, is it still in play? Yes, it is. So our all-time high is 155.68, but we are not going to set a level at 155.68 because we are going to round, right? 18 cents is not going to make a difference for a stock trading at 155. So we're just going to look for a break of 155.5. Round it. PLTR, long over 155.5, and we are going to say just looking for new all-time highs. I promise you, when we build this watch list like this, most days it is not this cut and dry. Given the current setups that we have, it's very simple. So a lot of times we have to go through and identify multiple different key levels and figure out which one we're going to go long at, which one offers us the most safety while also offering us the most profit margin. In these scenarios, we don't have to worry about charting any resistance points overhead or identifying any profit margin because it's 3 stocks at all-time highs that have all ran and they all got momentum. So our profit margin topside theoretically unlimited because there's no resistance there, right? That's why these setups are so much better than something like BABA that somebody asked about. Why trade? If I were to trade BABA, it's not at the all-time highs. Yes, it's a runner and it's an up gapper and moving off the positive news with China right now, but there's resistance overhead. So would I rather trade something that is limited or something that is unlimited? Choose your poison wisely. Okay, then we have our side charts. So we got 4 charts here for side charts. So let's go ahead and take a look at those and see if there's anything there for us. Tesla, we've talked about this multiple times this week. For those that have not been a part of the Discord server, you haven't heard us talk about this multiple times, but I really like this over 325. It's just pulled back off of 325, so I don't know if it gets there today and moves. So we're going to put it on the side chart watch list over 325 for now as a placeholder. If we see something better, we will replace Tesla. This is a C quality setup. If we had to identify setups as A setup, B setup, C setup, with A being the best, this is a C quality setup where it's not totally out of play because we know Tesla has the power to make or the ability to make big moves. So sure, Tesla could run from where it's at to 330 today. Yes, then it would be great. But it's not right at the breakout point. If we look back at NVIDIA or Microsoft or PLTR, those are at the cusp of resistance. They're ready to go. All we need is an opening green candle to shove it. With Tesla, we need a little more than that, right? Not only do we need that opening green candle to shove it, but then we need it to get to that price point, break the resistance, and have the momentum to continue for us to take a trade on this. So while it has opportunity, it may not offer the best opportunity. So if there's something else to trade, I would trade that over Tesla. And we may find something. So let's keep rolling through. Meta. All right. Meta. What do we got here? Meta, I explained this yesterday in a reel that I posted on Instagram about how Meta was showing relative weakness, and Meta, while all of these names are at all-time highs and breaking out and running and pushing topside, Meta's breaking down. Meta's showing something known as relative weakness, and not only intraday, but also on the daily, right? This is selling. This is making a high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower high, lower low. So trade in the direction. You may want to put this in your notes. This is good stuff. One way to increase your chances of being profitable on the trade is to trade in the direction that the stock is already moving on a larger time frame. One of Newton's laws of motion states that an object in motion tends to remain in motion, right? And this is absolutely true for stocks. So Meta moving in motion down, we're going to look for the further move in motion down, which tends to act as a natural point of support and resistance, in this case, support. So the question here is, how aggressive do we actually want to be on Meta? Do we want to be somewhat lenient with this and say, well, maybe we take it short under 698 or 697, yesterday's low of day? Or do we want to say, let's go fairly aggressive, short at 700, right at the whole number, and then use the move down from 700 to 697 as a potential profit margin? I like the idea of being aggressive on Meta at 700 because whole numbers, again, act as natural points of support. I'm seeing a lot of support. I'm seeing a lot more support there than I am down here, where this is kind of like a V-shaped recovery. This is something flat and static, which means that this is holding more weight here than this little peak down here. Also, Meta, like I said, it's been showing that relative weakness, so we can use this as a hedge idea. So if we get a bearish market sentiment, right, just because we have all these names at all-time highs doesn't mean that those stocks need to give us a continuation. So Meta, if we do get a sell-off in the overall market and bearish market sentiment, and maybe everybody decides that today's the day to sell, Meta is going to be the stock that we go short on. So we're going to say Meta below 700. That's it. That's it. All right, we got two more. Apple. I really like this setup on Apple. I'm going to be very upset if I miss this. And I don't know when. It's going to be hard to time because this is giving us this bull pennant pattern underneath the 200 EMA with a gap area just above. When this thing makes a move, it will be a big move because you're looking at nearly 2 weeks here, about 2 weeks of consolidation inside of a pattern. The longer that a stock consolidates for inside of a pattern, the bigger the breakout is going to be. And this could reject and break. It doesn't have to break out. This could reject and break down. So we need to watch carefully for direction. Right now, we need to see a higher high above 212 or a lower low below 208.5, roughly. All right, so back to the 5-minute time frame. Is Apple in a position here to give us anything that's high probability? No, unfortunately not. It's not gapped up to the resistance, so we can look for a breakout. It's not gapped down to the support, so we can look for a breakdown. Could it make a big move to the resistance or to the support today? Yes. But which way, if you're looking at this right now, which way do you think this goes? Half of you would probably say I'm bullish. The other half of you would probably say I'm bearish. 50-50, right? Look at the spread between where it's at to the resistance versus where it's at to the support. It's about the same. So when we talk about putting setups on the watch list that are high probability, there's nothing here. Apple's not one. It's not. It's 50-50. Could this run? Yeah. Could this sell? Yeah. Which way? We don't know. How is that high probability? So the better thing to do here, team, is to let Apple make its move. Maybe it does run today. Maybe it breaks out and runs to 212 or even breaks higher and runs to 213. And you're like, damn, I should have put that on the watch list. It's fine. Let that go without us, because what that will do is give us confirmation that Apple wants to break out. Then we're going to trade it on Monday, right? It's going to set us up for a better setup with more confirmation on a different day. So we leave it alone. Somebody said, is Hood worth a look since it's at the all-time highs? Tell you what, we'll look at it after AMD. This is the last one that I have on my focus list here. AMD has just been a recent runner in sympathy with the China news, the China chip news, as well as with NVIDIA trading at all-time highs. So we would look for a continuation from here, which would be a break of the prior day's high of day, which is roughly 162. So 162 dollar-wise, 159, 160, 161, 162. It's a few dollars away from the stock's current trade price, and it's about 2% away from the stock's current trade price. So if we're going long at 162, and AMD is selling, right? If we're going long at 162, essentially what we're asking AMD to do is reverse, first of all, break the previous day's close, second of all, break the pre-market high, third of all, run to the prior day's high of day, fourth of all, and then continue to run for us to profit on this above 162. Is it likely to happen? No. Could it happen? Yes. Is it likely to happen? No. Is this a high probability setup? No. That changes if AMD gaps up, right? If it gaps up, if it held up here and opened at 162, then all we need to look for is just the break of the prior day's high of day. That's not the situation we're given. So with the sell-off this morning, AMD's out of play. It doesn't make the watch list. Hood. Okay. Wow. What a gap up on Hood. So Jeremy, yes, the answer to your question is yes. Hood is definitely worth a look. You got to be careful of the extension, though. I know I keep saying that, but I feel like Hood almost falls in that meme stock category in a way, because all of these traders, if you remember like the Wall Street bets thing that happened a couple of years ago with GameStop and AMC, and these Reddit traders banding together and pushing those stocks and pumping them, a lot of those people have access to Hood, and a lot of them trade on Robinhood. And so Hood is kind of, they kind of like adopt stocks. I saw an interview with somebody, and they were like, yeah, you don't choose to be a meme stock. They choose you. That's the way I feel with Hood. So while it's extended here, and while it's probably due for a pullback, it may not, just because it kind of feels like it falls in that meme stock category. So we can put Hood on the watch list. This, for me, though, is not going to be a high probability setup that I would watch immediately because of the extension. Not only is it extended, I mean, it's up almost 10% in 2 days, but then we got to consider the gap up this morning too. From the previous day's closing price to the stock's current trade price, Hood is up 3.6%, which is fairly big, fairly large amount for I don't want to say mega cap stock, but for a large cap stock. I mean, it's trading over $100, right? We could argue that's a large cap stock. 3%, being up 3.5% is pretty big. That is pretty big. But this could continue to run, like I said, because it falls in that meme stock category. So if there was a opening move where maybe NVIDIA runs and Microsoft runs and then Hood also runs, I personally would feel more comfortable trading NVIDIA long or Microsoft long over Hood long, because Hood is already extended. Make sense? So we'll put it on the watch list. I don't mind this setup because it is a gap up. It could run. It is at all-time highs. All of that stuff is correct. Be careful and mindful of how extended this is, though. All right, let's roll through. You said for AMD, could you get in after it breaks the downtrend trend line? You can. Yeah, sure. You can, but what's your profit margin here? Look, if you get in after this breaks the downtrend trend line, let's say, you get in somewhere down here, right? Then where's your resistance? Previous day's close. Okay, well, where's your resistance above that? Pre-market high. Okay, well, where's your resistance above that? Prior day's high of day. So you tell me, after you take this entry down here, you tell me at which one of these points do you think that this is going to reject at? You don't know. You don't know. You don't know, right? It could be any one of them. If you said any one of them, you're right. It could be any one of them, but we don't know. That's the thing. So why put ourselves in a situation where we're taking a position and then guessing what our profit margin could be? Why would we trade something that has resistance overhead when we can trade something that doesn't? You know what I mean? So like you got to choose your battles. I know some people are so, for lack of better words, hell-bent on trading just one name, one particular stock. And they're like, Gates, I really like watching, we'll take AMD. I really like watching AMD every single day. It makes big moves. It makes clean moves. It's a good stock. It's got great options chain. I just love trading AMD. That's the only thing that I trade. And I get it. I understand the familiarity aspect of wanting to trade the same ticker every single day. But then if you limit yourself to just trading one stock every day, you miss out on other opportunity that might offer more profit margin and a better setup with a little more safety. So I don't like the idea of just trading one stock every single day. Not that I'm saying that you're doing that at all, but just for, generally speaking. Plus, AMD may not offer you a high probability setup every single day, right? Yeah, I don't like it. I think that there are better any one of these setups here on the watch list, maybe with the exception of Tesla, look better than AMD. Okay, let's look maybe at Coin. This is also an up gapper, recent runner over the $400 whole number. Feels extended here. Coin kind of has weird options chain too. For us options traders, the spread is a little wide. So if I were to trade this, I would probably just go aggressive on this at 422, but then you've got resistance. You need to be mindful. You've got resistance at 426 and 427, so you may be in that same situation with AMD, right? You might be limited on profit margin here, taking that trade above 422, but you could, the difference between breaking the downtrend trend line and running it up on Coin early versus running it up on AMD early is that Coin is an up gapper that's moving up and you're trading up. AMD is not an up gapper. It's a down gapper actually. And you're asking it to reverse and then reverse direction and break all those resistance points overhead. Whereas with Coin, you're just asking it to continue in the direction it's already heading in, which is a lot easier, right? Remember, what is it? The object in motion tends to stay in motion in that direction. So Coin could be added, but I think we've got a pretty full watch list already. I'm not a super fan of the options contracts on Coin, so we're going to skip that one. I see some requests rolling through for different stocks, but we're running out of time here. It's 9:13 a.m. Eastern, so I've got to get this watch list out to the rest of the team and then prepare my charts myself for trading. So let's roll through the focus, my watch list over here. We're going to roll through my watch list one by one. And basically what I'm looking for is anything different in the pre-market, anything wild, anything that has a lot of volume, anything that is maybe a crazy up gapper or a crazy down gapper. Where do we think we might, or what setup do we think we might replace Tesla with, if there's one at all? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And we can just go really quickly through these. Again, the only thing I'm looking at is right here. Just the end of the price action. Is there anything crazy? By the way, we are trading, so something like this, right? AI. Up gapper. Looks like some volume here. Might be news. AI is not a super popular stock to day trade, so we'll keep rolling. But what I was going to say is we are live trading today. Normally we don't do that on Fridays, but because of Thinkorswim's issues last Friday, which was wild, with it locking up, everybody's brokerage locked up and nobody could take a position or exit a position. But I did hear from several people that they reversed those trades. So if you had an issue with Thinkorswim last Friday and it cost you money, call them. They will reverse your trades for you. They did do it for members. I got confirmation from other people that they did do that. I didn't do it myself, but I didn't need to. I made money. Okay. All right. I don't see anything better than what we have. So let's go through the list one more time, make sure our levels are good to go, and then we're going to get this watch list posted for everybody. We got SPY, Google. This is probably going to be the top pick of the day. NVIDIA. Okay. Microsoft. Yep, looks good. Put all these on the 5-minute time frame. And then I will pull up a second instance of Thinkorswim, but I'm not going to log in right now and do all that. Then we've got PLTR. Okay, looks fine. Tesla. Looks fine. Meta. Yep, that's going to be our short idea. And then Hood over 110, which you need to really be careful of that extension on. All right, it all looks good. Let's go ahead and get this watch list posted. Next week, we start the Higher Spartan class. I have one spot available still. So if you are interested in joining that class, we're going to do this right here. We're going to go live. We're going to do screen share session. It's going to be you and 2 other classmates. And we're going to talk about the watch list. We're going to build the watch list together. You're going to get homework assigned to you where you come and present stocks to me and we talk about them. And in addition, we will review trades, your trades that you take, and we'll also review my trades and call outs that I take. And we'll try to identify, is there anywhere that maybe you're falling short in your trading? Are there any improvements that you can make? Or are you doing really great with your trading? What things can we work on trying to harp on to continue to do great trading? So if you're interested, shoot me a message either on Discord or Instagram, and we'll get you signed up. And I'll give you some more information on the class. Even if you just want more information and you're not planning to sign up, that's fine too. Shoot me a message. We'll get you that more information. All right, we'll meet you over in the arena of the Discord server. So the live trading is not conducted here on YouTube because there's a little bit of a delay that I can't control. So we will conduct the live trading in Discord in the arena. So scroll down bottom left-hand side of the Discord server. You're going to see voice channels right here, the arena. And you see people already piling in here. This is where we conduct the live trading. So I'm going to end the stream here. I'll meet you over there in about 10 minutes or so. All right. Good luck today. Let's go make some money. Top pick of the day, probably going to be Google.